My name is Ron Laboray, and this is my hometown of Granite City. During this summer, the steel foundries that usually keep the pulse of Granite City beating were stilled. Local layoffs in the steel industry had started last fall, and the summer had promised to be long and uncertain. The shadows cast by these quieted mills crept across our blighted downtown, hiding an even quieter effort. Several local artists set out every weekend for 2 months to capture the natural beauty of an empty industrial landscape.
Last time I was here, the yellow flowers were in here, and that's a nice complementary color.
You work with pastels primarily.
Yes,
Is there a reason why you enjoy the pastels over, say, oil paint that John was using?
Well, I've tried oil paints, watercolors, you name it. I think I have it. But pastels, you don't have to mix the colors. They don't dry out. There's a lot of advantages, I think. Okay. I just find them to be easier. Sometimes I like to do an underpainting, say watercolor. This particular time I did spray it with water to, make all this more like a wash.
Yeah, do you have a preference between landscape or architecture?
Well, I used to shy away from buildings, so, it's a bit of a challenge, but
what is
enjoying it.
That you think about whenever you're setting up your composition or where you're going to sit for the day?
We always want to, what is it that you want to say? And something that attracts me here is just showing the difference between the structure, the stone, and the thistles. Maybe some nice colors.
So, Michael, I see that you are using watercolors today.
That's right.
And you have, I've seen pastel and oil paint. You prefer watercolor?
Yes, I have been painting in watercolors for about almost 2 years now, and I had primarily painted in oils for about 4 years before that, and I just decided to make a change one day, and so I've been really trying to concentrate on building a body of work in watercolor.
Wait, what do you? The differences are great. What do you find that you like about the watercolor over the oil?
Well, I like working on paper. I like the brilliance of color that you can get. The white shows through the colors that you put down on the paper, and that's the fun of watercolor, is getting that really intense color and letting the white of the paper show through.
I've also noticed that the brushes are a bit different. In oil painting, they seem to be very rigid and they're larger brushes, and yours are smaller and they seem probably softer.
Absolutely. The oil brushes are generally bristle. In watercolor, you're using more of a, you can use sable. They make them, the hairs are from sometimes from squirrel hair or sable, or sometimes they're synthetic also. But they are definitely softer and a little more, to handle a little more fluid medium and thinner washes than what you would have in oils. Architecture is fun to paint, and sometimes we'll paint in the city, sometimes we'll paint in industrial areas like this.
Now, this subject really fits your process, the idea of the shape.
Simple shapes. What I try to do is not so much create a composition, really it's a design, and looking to save some of the white shapes. That's another aspect of painting on paper with watercolor, is preserving some of the white in the paper as you paint, and I'll just leave those shapes basically. And also the idea of transparency and layers.
Yeah, so preserving that white really calls for a game plan in advance to understand you have to preserve that. You don't want to hit that spot.
That's right. I think that's if there's any trick at all to watercolor, it's kind of planning ahead.
See, now I almost feel like I want to go darker on here, but I think I better wait and get it inside. I need some more windows here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick this up. Am I spoiling this thing here? I'm going to pick this up and do some of these closer. There's some green windows in there that are kind of interesting, but I think it's too late for me to get those in. They'll just look like green trees. Around here, I think that might be just a little bit of texture. Got some green windows in here, so I might have to.
So Nancy, you're doing watercolor as well.
Yes.
One other person was doing watercolor. Do you prefer watercolor over, say, oil or pastel?
Right now I'm doing a lot of watercolor, but I'm thinking of going back to some oils.
You paint?
I paint in the studio most of the time, and I've been doing a lot of figure work and a lot of I go to a lot of sketching classes for figures. But I love to paint outside, and so I'm kind of getting back into it with this. And the Granite City is beautiful to paint.
Notice that with your paintings, as opposed to Michael's paintings earlier, his were very bright, and he really pumps his colors up.
Yes.
Where yours are more, I would say, towards a realism, where they are muted, and they tend to have like age and environment on them.
Well, I really love what Mike does, and I'd like to try some of that. So artists are always trying to get something a little bit different. And
yours are really a beautiful balance between the temperature of the light as well as the surface color of the object.
It's always a challenge. So.
Final exhibition in the community brings full circle the efforts of our group. Some realistic and some more abstract, the paintings show the evidence of careful thought and a graceful hand.